Welcome back to another Micmac tabletop review. Today we'll be taking a look at the Springfield Armory 911 semi-automatic 380 micro pocket pistol. This is the Springfield Armory 911, a 380 micro pocket pistol that was only produced for a few years starting in 2019 and currently listed as discontinued on the Springfield Armory website. As you can see, it's a small aluminum framed micro compact 380 handgun, designed along the lines of the famous full-size 1911 and the legendary COLT Mustang 380. This one has the Desert FDE finish. It's got factory-installed rubberized Hogue grips, tritium night sights, and stainless steel barrel. In my opinion, it's nicely built and similar to the COLT Mustang, and somewhat similar to the highly regarded and popular SIG P238 in many respects. Here's my SIG P238, and ignoring the Arma Laser Intuitive Active Laser System, as you can see, dimensionally, they're about the same size, and both are 1911 format pistols. If you like the function and the controls of a 1911, you'll probably like the Springfield 911. Of course, not everyone does. So there are critics of the Springfield Armory 911, and since it was only in production a few years, unlike the COLT Mustang and SIG P238, which are still in production, there's a good chance the market just wasn't that keen on another micro pocket 1911 inspired pistol. In addition, let's face it, that 380 pocket pistol market has cooled. People have come to realize that most sub 3-inch short-barreled, lightweight micro pocket pistols are challenging to grip and control, not pleasant to shoot, not that comfortable, and difficult to shoot accurately compared to full-size and some slightly heavier compact guns. But as these 1911 style micro pistols go, the Springfield 911 is still a pretty nice little pistol and probably more affordable compared to other similar options. I got this one at a gun show recently. I wasn't thrilled about the desert finish, but the gun was new in the box and offered for $369. Since the manufacturer's suggested retail price for the 911 was about $630 new, and used 911s were selling for about $475 at the time, I thought I ought to pick this one up. So after almost a year, what do I think? Was it worth what I paid? Let's check it out. Now before we go any further, let's make sure this gun is cleared first. And by the way, if you enjoy this review, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Springfield Armory Incorporated is an American commercial firearms manufacturer and importer based in Geneseo, Illinois. Founded in 1974 by Bob Reese and family, the company produced rifles such as the M1A and imported handguns such as the XD series and Hellcat. Springfield came out with their 911 a little late in the 380 pocket pistol boom. Models were made in both 380 and 9mm, and with or without lasers. As I mentioned earlier, the 911 was only produced between 2019 and 2020. All models are currently discontinued. As for packaging, the Springfield Armory 911 380 came in a cardboard box and included a pouch, a pocket holster, an orange chamber safety blocker, a lock, an extra magazine with pinky extension, as well as a manual, and a little packet of gun oil and the usual paperwork. By the way, note that the 911 came in a variety of color schemes, and there are plenty of accessories still available for the 911 today, including holsters, grips, and even laser grip activated systems. That would suggest, although it's been discontinued, a fairly good level of interest still must exist for the 911. As for specifications, the Springfield 911 is a single action only subcompact 380. The barrel is 2.7 inches in stainless steel. The slide is brushed stainless steel. Note there's a loaded chamber indicator here. The sights are night sights. The front is an AmeriGlow Pro Glow green tritium with luminescent circle. The rear is a tactical rack U-notch tritium inside white circle. Note the one-hand rack ledge. The frame is anodized hard coat aluminum. The grip is from Hogue. It's rubberized wrapped. Thin, aggressively checkered G10 grips are standard. Note the short, high beaver tail for high protective grip. As for controls, we have a slide lock, release, magazine release, ambidextrous thumb safety, up for safe. The hammer is skeletonized, recessed but exposed. As for magazines, we have two, a 6+1 round flush and a 7+1 round extended. They're steel. There's no magazine safety that's going to be fired without a magazine installed. Note that the slide holds open after the last round is fired. Overall length is 5.5 inches. Height is 3.9 inches. Width is 1.1 inches. Weight is 12.6 ounces unloaded. The packaging includes a pouch with a usable pocket holster. Note that the 911 came with a lifetime warranty. Okay, before we hit the range, let's talk a little bit about function. Overall, as a package, the 911 seems pretty good. With the extended magazine and Hogue grips, this particular 911 has a nice solid full feel. I'm not a fan of the desert finish, but the tritium night sights are absolutely excellent, and the grip pattern and high beaver tail offers a good natural pointing platform. It has a good feel to it. I've heard complaints about the thin, aggressively checkered G10 grips that were standard on the 911s, so I'm very glad for these factory Hogue grips. They just make such a big difference. The steel magazines are easy to load and seat smoothly and firmly. The mag release fully releases the magazine. Racking with the hammer down is moderate, and with the hammer back it's lighter, but there's a lack of smoothness. Okay, I should probably mention that on my first trip to the range with this new gun, racking felt too rough, not just tight, and it actually failed to return to battery after every shot. After 50 rounds I gave up. Yes, I had cleaned and oiled it before taking it to the range. I thought it might have been maybe the ammo. Perhaps it was, because after another cleaning and oiling and back to the range again with different ammo, this same gun ran just perfectly. However, even though I've cleaned it up again, the slide still has a little grittiness to it, in my opinion. And it actually seems a bit gummy after shooting just a couple of boxes of ammo, like it needs to be cleaned and oiled again. Perhaps that will get better with use. Some guns function better after 400 to 500 rounds are fired. That may actually be the case here. This is a new gun, and I'm only at about 200 rounds so far, and the gun does seem to be getting better. The safety is solid, smooth, and sure. I can't easily release the slide with just my thumb, but it's not something I usually do anyhow. As for the trigger, Springfield says the pull weight should be about 5 pounds, but this gun's measured trigger pull weight is closer to 10 pounds. And yes, I've heard others complain about the trigger pull weight on their 911s being above that 5-pound specification. Of course, this is a new gun, and as the gun breaks in, this might improve. Take-up is almost non-existent, with a smooth, very short roll-off. Trigger reset is equally very short, and both tactical and audible, crisp and clear. Now, it's noteworthy to point out that as a 1911 style pistol, the 911 is designed to be carried cocked and locked, as they say. That is, with a round in the chamber, the hammer back and cocked, and the safety on. It only requires that the safety be thumbed off to be able to be fired. Yes, that does make some people nervous, so the option is to carry this gun with the chamber empty, which of course requires that the slide be racked before shooting. Note that I'm using dummy rounds here to demonstrate. So with the 911, it can be racked with the hammer down or cocked back, but only with the safety off if the hammer is down. So many end up carrying it with the hammer cocked, but the chamber empty and the safety on. Also note that racking the 911 slide with the hammer back is extremely light and easy, very easy to do. Okay, let's get this micro pocket pistol to the range and try it out. I usually start at 12 to 18 feet for point and shoot pocket pistols, but I've already been to the range a few times with this 911, and I know I can do pretty well at my usual training distance of 24 feet, so that's where we're going to start today. I'm shooting Sig Sauer Elite Performance 100 grain full metal jacket 380 ammo. By the way, the targets are 6 inches in diameter. Let's see if I can get and stay on target today. Not bad, and the gun has a good feel to it. I like these rubberized grips and the extended magazine. Nice feel. The sights are excellent. Good sight picture. Good trigger. Good balance. Minimal muzzle flip. Felt recoil isn't bad either. Nice little pistol. Okay, let's bump the target out a little to 30 feet and try that again. Now again, not bad. Let's get the target out to 40 feet and see how I do. I don't usually train at this distance with pocket pistols, but this Springfield 911 is doing really well, so let's give it a shot. Okay, I think that was pretty good for a 6-inch target at 40 feet. Yep, the 911 is a very nice little shooter, and I think I can improve with practice. As far as cons go, first off, if you're not a fan of the 1911, the function and features of this pistol probably won't appeal to you. Some would object to the minimal capacity as well as the smaller caliber of the 6-round 380 pocket pistol. Likewise, many would probably dislike the thumb safety. And more importantly, it would appear that the 911 may need a break-in period, needs to be cleaned and oiled, needs the right ammo or a combination of those to operate properly. Whatever, I did have a bit of a problem during my initial use of this gun, and the slide still feels a little gritty to me. So I'd be a bit cautious about choosing everyday carry ammo, and you'll need to ensure its reliability with this gun before depending on it. Of course, a break-in of 400 to 500 rounds admittedly adds to the functional cost of the gun as well. Also, I'm not sure why this particular gun's trigger pull is so heavy compared to the manufacturer's specifications, but it does detract from what might have been a fairly decent trigger. By the way, I found the ejection pattern on this gun a little annoying, as it would throw the brass straight up with hot brass occasionally hitting the top of my head. Finally, given its short production run, support for the 911 may fade sooner than you'd like, and with a market value similar to the SIG P238, COLT Mustang, or Kimber Micro 380, which I believe are just better guns, it would be hard to justify buying a 911 at about the same price for what you get. As for pros, for a Micro 380, the 911 is a relatively soft shooting pocket pistol. With these Hogue grips and the extended magazine, this little micro pocket pistol feels pretty good. Minimal muzzle flip, good control. The Springfield Armory 911, so equipped, actually feels like a larger gun than it really is. It's also fairly accurate. You've got to love these night sights, they're just excellent. And I like the 911's loaded chamber indicator. Note this small lever on top of the slide that normally sits flush with the slide, but pivots up when the round is present. This provides a visible and tactical way of checking if the gun is loaded. Very nice. Accuracy was very good, even with the flush magazine, which I attribute somewhat to these excellent Hogue grips, providing impressive comfort and control for such a small gun. And although the 911 has a manufacturer's suggested retail price close to that of the SIG P238, COLT Mustang, and Kimber Micro, the 911 is priced usually about $50 to $75 less. But more importantly, I've seen the 911s for sale occasionally for even much less than the SIG P238 or Kimber Micro, so there's a better chance for a good deal on one. Even better if used and already broke in. And that's something to consider. On a personal note, although the 911 comes with a usable pocket holster, which is certainly a good thing, the holsters I have for my SIG P238, before I added the laser, and for my Kimber Micro 380 all fit the Springfield 911 380 perfectly. One more thing, the Springfield 911 comes with a lifetime warranty. Always nice. As for disassembly, it's similar to a 1911 and fairly simple. Remove the magazine and check once again that the gun is cleared. This gun has a half-circle takedown notch on the slide. Push the slide back and hold the half-circle cutout over the takedown release pin end while you pry up on the release pin. Remove the pin and allow the slide to move forward and off the frame. Remove the rod and the spring from the slide, then remove the barrel. And basically that's it. Now a couple of points should be mentioned here. First, don't engage the manual safety when the slide is off the frame of the pistol, because it will cause the safety detent plunger to separate from the frame, and trust me, you don't want to do that. And second, be certain only to depress the ejector down far enough to provide clearance when returning the slide. If you press it down too far, it could cause a problem. Okay, for reassembly, we start by returning the barrel to the slide, then the rod and spring to the slide. Note the pin will go through the hole in the barrel cam when assembled. Make sure everything is centered. Return the slide to the frame, push the slide back on the frame until the hole is visible through the slide. Then insert the pin on the slide release through the frame and hole on the barrel cam. Once the pin starts to go through, bring the slide back until you can lock the end of the slide release pin into the notched area of the slide, seating the lever into position. Return the magazine and release the slide. Test for function, and that's it. As for price, the Springfield Armory 911 has a current manufacturer suggested retail price of $629 according to Genetron.com. A used 911 is currently listed at an average used price of about $475. But actual new in the box sales are ranging today from as low as $640 with common sales closer to $520. Like I said, I only paid $369 for this one new at a local gun store, so better deals are certainly out there. As for actual used sales volume, I couldn't find any national sales data on actual used 911 sales, which I thought was very interesting in itself. That would suggest that people might be holding on to their used 911 pistols, and that probably the used value suggested by Genetron.com and TrueGunValue.com averaging about $475 may be pretty accurate. So if you find a good used one for less, that'd probably be a pretty good deal. Now before we end today's video, I'd like to remind you, if you haven't already, be sure to like, share, and subscribe down below. And thanks for watching. Well, summarizing, the Springfield Armory 911 is a US-made .380 micro pistol that was only produced between 2019 and 2020. The 911 is an aluminum frame micro-compact handgun designed along the lines of the famous full-size 1911. With its rubberized Hogue grips, extended magazine, tritium night sights, this 911 actually handles like a much larger gun than it is, offering improved feel and handling, but it fell a bit short in refinement and function compared to its competition, in my opinion. Still, it's a pretty nice little .380 pocket pistol, and since the 911 may offer a more affordable alternative to the higher priced SIG or Kimber, I'd say it's worth keeping an eye out for one at a good price. So wrapping up, the Springfield 911 may not be a great gun, but it's still a good gun in my opinion. True, while you might find one for less than a SIG P238, COLT Mustang, or Kimber Micro 380, admittedly, you're getting what you paid for in comparison. No doubt it's probably one of the reasons that the 911 is no longer in production. Now that being said, the configuration of this particular 911 with its night sights and Hogue grips does indeed make for a fairly attractive option. It's accurate, comfortable to shoot, and reliable once broke in. Operationally, the SIG and Kimber may be more refined, but I suspect once this gun has been well broke in and with the right ammo, it would serve its owner very well. So if you can find one at the right price, it could indeed be worth it. And if it's used, already broke in, and at a much lower price, well, maybe all the better. any weapon you carry, is better than the one you left at home. Thanks for watching. Hope you'll be back for my next tabletop review. Until next time, stay safe.